older generation of the community reps were intruding the pushers' businesses. Literally, they were treating like, oh, okay, you guys cannot do your business here. You cannot, you guys only practice. They are calling on cops, like raid the places. So in terms of the harmony situation, because okay, of course it's not safe, right? If your kids is going to tuition or like going back to school, and then there's like someone, doing drugs at the staircase, it's not safe. But it just works sometimes for these places. But I think this young leader who kind of like be impacted by the intervention by the elder generation, he stepped out. He said, "Don't disturb our business. We are not disturbing yours."
This will be the first episode of second season of Sidang KSI. Usually, Zaim will be joining me, but today, I leave that room vacant for an important guest, which is important guest of mine from ThinkCity. All right, so his name is Mr. Arif Danial. He's what's your role in the?
I'm an associate of the Kita Untuk Kita program, focusing on the community development programs. Yeah.
All right. So I think we can kick off this session. I would like to ask Mr. Arif. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Right? So, can you give like maybe a one-liner or one paragraph of who you are really, your interests, and what you actually do, lah? Despite that you have already given information.
I think just a quick background of myself. Thank you, Luqman, first of all. My name is Arif. I've studied property management for my bachelor. Now, I have a background in property valuation and also facilities management. But now in ThinkCity, I'm doing community development, like I've mentioned earlier, community development under the Kita Untuk Kita program, which is actually part of the flagship social resilience flagship under ThinkCity. So it's a sub-program of the social resilience flagship under ThinkCity. So maybe in ThinkCity, what we do right now, or maybe what I do in ThinkCity, my current team, the Kita Untuk Kita community development program, we focus on working with communities, especially in the public housing schemes. We are now working at 10 sites across KL and Selangor. We have 8 sites in KL, 2 sites in Selangor. And the end goal of the program is actually to build a more to work on developing a more equitable governance, equitable living conditions, and a working model for public housing that is just beyond social welfare, but it's actually human. It's actually empathetic for the targeted communities. Yeah.
So it's like humanizing public housing, isn't it?
It's humanizing public housing beyond maybe transition, maybe beyond whatever it is right now. It's yeah. So yes.
I see. Interesting. So thank you for such a concise and interesting information a bit about you. Because I think for our viewers, there's not much to be publicly known. I think our audience base is more on the policy field, and it is a little bit hard to grasp the depth and also the complexities and the nuances of community resilience, like what you said. So I am quite interested in knowing about your organization, ThinkCity. So can you give like a bit of a rundown of what actually ThinkCity do?
So ThinkCity, we are an impact organization. We are a subsidiary, a special purpose vehicle of Khazanah, Khazanah National Berhad. So our work, we are involved in the thinking part of the program, but we're also implementing. So I think that's a unique position for us to be in, because we are involved with the master plan development, with the policy recommendation, but it is also informed by our extensive on the ground work, project implementation, program implementations, which have provided numbers and data and evidences to support whatever we are recommending. So I think in essence, ThinkCity, especially in the urban environment context, we are we are everywhere. We hope to be everywhere, but also we hope to deliver impact in transforming spaces in cities or in any urban context to be more equitable for everyone and livable. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what is actually the difference between, pardon my ignorance between like town planning organization and what ThinkCity do?
So I think in terms of technicalities or formalities, ThinkCity is a Sidang Berhad. Yes, we are Sidang Berhad. We are a company. But if you are saying about the conventional town planning firms, they have a special body governing them. They have a provision under Akta Percangan Bandar dan Desa untuk to regulate their professional conduct. So they are also the ones who are legality. They are the ones who are allowed to submit for approval for submission, kebenaran merancang, or like any building plan submission. So this approval DO development order is normally submitted by those who are in the official town planning firms lah. ThinkCity, we are not a town planning firm. We are not an architecture firm. We are not a property firm whatsoever. We are an urban impact
like
organization.
distinctly different.
We are distinctly different, but we work closely with we hope to always work closely with the industry experts so that maybe we can exchange information. But we try not to overstep anyone. We try not to go into, because there are provisions to give mandate to the profession for architects, town planner, property professionals. So ThinkCity, I think we work with them. We try to help them, maybe together with them work towards implementation and also for policy recommendation, which is like I say again, maybe towards a more equitable or livable city. Yeah.
If you can tell me what are the few policy recommendation that you've done. Maybe under your belt, maybe under wider ThinkCity terms.
Of course, we have. I think recently last year during Placemaker Week ASEAN, we presented a paper about public spaces. Maybe like how public spaces can be beyond public spaces. This is actually presented by my colleagues during Placemaker Week ASEAN. Under my belt, I personally haven't sent any like paper to recommendation, but my active advocacy is for participatory process that goes beyond the planning process, but also towards the project implementation. So I think maybe it's not as powerful as a white paper presented in conferences, but that is the active process that we are trying to embed during our implementation projects.
Yeah. What is that term that you just dropped about public spaces? Mind shedding
public
light?
Spaces?
Yeah.
So public spaces, again, I think it's quite self-explanatory in terms of like what are public spaces are spaces that can be accessed by public. But of course, in Malaysia, there's a few conditions. There's a few situations to public spaces. There is like public spaces like your usual padang, your usual sidewalk. There's also like private owned public spaces. So for example, there's a private owner of a space who is designating a parcel of their space to become a public space, but maybe there's a limited access to it. Maybe say 7 to 7 every day. For example, maybe it's a pocket park within their unit, or maybe it's a garden within their property parcel. So there's a few types of public spaces, and there are a few maybe regulations as well, or guidelines towards how these public spaces are being managed. Yeah.
I want to ask you something that is directly related to what is your role in ThinkCity. So this might caught you off guard,
okay.
But I'm willing to hazard this. This is a risk I'm willing to take.
Okay.
So what's the biggest misconception about community development in Malaysia?
I think the biggest misconception, maybe not trying to point fingers to anyone, or maybe to my own organization. I think the biggest misconception is that we know what the community wants. So I think people who are working in community development, we are always, we set our theory of change of what we want in terms of the programs, in terms of the projects that we are implementing. But I think the misconception is that we know what they want. it's always like macam
Like we assume
we assume we know. We assume that there's a demand, there's a structural demand for it. There's a maybe an interest from the community to do it. There's a requirement for the community to do it. But most of the programs that maybe that is part under social or community programs kind of like one-off. They don't last. The outcomes are very short-lived. So I think that's a misconception, is that we kind of like tell ourselves, oh, we know what they want. Maybe, right? So the theory of change maybe needs to be more informed, or in the Malay word, it's saksama to whatever the condition is on the ground.
Like ideally, instead of you said that one of the main criticism is we assume that this community, we know what this community want. So in a perfect world, how do we circumvent this?
I think first of all, we just need to be clear with ourselves. We just need to be honest with ourselves. What is our intention of going there? Of course, for a lot of us out there, maybe a lot of organizations, some business are involved in community development. But I think what is community development even, right? So what is the end goal? What is the exit strategy? So in an utopian world, maybe every program should have a clear exit strategy. Maybe post-program tracking, like maybe after 1 or 2 years, we track what happened to the communities that we've worked with. Are there any improvements? Are the outcomes sustained to create a bigger impact, a spillover maybe? So the scalability of the programs. So I think an utopian world is like, on paper, it translates whatever that is on the ground is translated to the paper. Not on paper, translate to the ground.
So it's like more like a bottom up process.
It's bottom up process. For me. I think I am a staunch advocate of bottom up. But I think it won't work without the top down, the top reaching out. Maybe not reaching down, but reaching out to embrace what is being done by the communities on the ground.
So in essence, the top must reaching out, and the bottom must go up, like, is it?
I think must go up in terms of like social mobility, or like is it class mobility, or like literal movement of getting to the policymakers. I think what we are working right now, the communities are doing good, like really, really good. They know their limitations. They know, they kind of like aware or like semi-aware of what is lacking in the system, but they know that there's some limitation out there. But they work around it. Maybe they cannot spell what maybe the policy that is hindering some positive changes. But they know, they just know how to work themselves out in the current situation. But I think this can run out. The motivation can run out. There can be fatigue from the grassroots committees. I think my acquisition would be, or like Malay word, like tuduhan would be, the top should be reacting to what is happening on the ground, so that it's more on policy wise, on the governance wise, it's more reacting to what is on the ground, and more transparent. Yeah,
on the ground. So when you say community development, what is actually the shape of this community development on the ground, you see?
The shape. So obviously, I think there are textbooks out there that mention like what are the needs to, what are the requirements to like change or like develop a community. Maybe their material conditions, their economic status, their education opportunities, their maybe living conditions even. So I think working in community development, I think one more thing is that opportunities to like have to give out their opinion, and maybe to participate. Opportunities in terms of education, and
material condition, is it?
Management,
yeah.
And also material conditions such as their living conditions, their economic situation. Yeah. So that's around the main pillars that we are looking at. Yeah.
I see. So the work that you've done maybe touch a lot with I think it's not, well, maybe some people on the margins of our society, maybe in the in the urban spaces. So I figure that along the way of your career, there must be some of the communities that are might be surprising for anyone to enter, anyone to observe. So what are the first 2 or 3 things you try to understand when entering a new community? Because we don't want to pose as a poverty tourism.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
we don't
Yes.
want to do that.
What's it? Poverty safari. Poverty safari, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in a more vulgar term, it's like pool porn. I
Pool
think
porn, yeah.
that's a yeah.
Yeah.
So I think my practice, or maybe the one that I learned from my mentors in ThinkCity, is actually we do cultural mapping. So in cultural mapping itself, we are covering a lot of maybe components such as space use, stakeholder analysis, or maybe some people call it power analysis. We are looking at maybe the how okay, maybe space use now. We are looking at also like uh how what kind of cultures are there in the space itself. Like literally is in the name. Maybe okay, this is where people dine, this is where people walk, this is where in some cases vice activities happen. There's also like perception of safety, or this is the safe part, this is the maybe less safe, this is the clean part, this is the less clean side of town. So it's very important to understand the space and like how the people use the space first, because we work in a built environment context, which is space is very involved. And then the ones who are involving the space are like the committees. So that's why the stakeholder mapping earlier is very important, so that we know, oh, these are the main users, these are the owners, these are the ones who actually have the management, the say in terms of how the space is being run. This actually, I think, is very important to include the formal and informal sectors as well.
Formal and informal sectors.
So formal is what I think is very straightforward, like everything that is legal, businesses that have licenses, entities that are like Persatuan Penduduk or KRT who are operating under legal provisions. But the informal sectors are very important because they are actually they are contributing to how the space is being is shaped, like literally how the dynamics on the ground, because some of them are actually in the formal side of the town as well. So the informal sectors can be in terms of penjaja, can be in terms
Hawkers,
of hawkers, hawkers can be in terms of just people loitering around the area, like maybe youth just they gather around just to play Mobile Legend, or like uncles just hang out, just do nothing after their prayer at surau, or old people just hanging. So I think all these informal activities, and this is also inclusive of like the underworld, like underworld. So maybe the organizations, the businesses, the underworld businesses, because they take places. These transactions also take place in the urban setting, or like the boundaries that we have mapped for our project. So if you understand all of these dynamics, then you will, I think you will be able to do a more accurate synthesis of how to approach, or maybe what's best, what's to be done, or maybe just let it be. Just this is good. This is, that thing needs to be improved, for example, right? So yeah, but I think I think that's all for me. Yeah.
You must have some interesting
answers, huh? I hope this answers your question. I think I went beyond 3. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I think you must have a few interesting stories. Do you mind share some stories that might be related to what discussed earlier?
I think
I'm interested to know about the underworld, the thing that you mentioned just now.
Of course. So if I may, I think right now we are working in public housing. It's only fair, right? So there are stereotypes about public housing that these people, the committees, they are. I mean, there are more. There have been residents that get access to wider opportunities in terms of economic and also education. Some of them have maybe like graduated from their condition. Maybe they have moved on to a different housing and all. But there are also some sectoral committees that kind of like remain there, and they form ways to cope. Ways to cope in terms of like the lack of opportunities that they get.
Okay.
Maybe the lack of opportunities is not from themselves. It's actually because of
Structural issues.
That would be my accusation. Okay.
Yeah.
So the way they cope is normally they form informal organizations to help, like maybe with businesses, to help with protection, to help with maybe with loans among themselves, or maybe on how to get represented to a wider market. So there are, and businesses are like all kind of businesses. There can be uh car wash businesses, can be like kedai runcit, it can be like any warung. Also like even to the worst extent is like narcotics. So we cannot deny that it is happening. I think there's a statistic for this if we can look it up somewhere. But they are actually kind of like holding the place together in some ways because they are doing this is also part of their pride of keeping the community, keeping their place intact, other than also keeping their business intact lah. So for example, we are working in one of the sites we are working at. The I think I cannot mention this because it's of privacy. Yeah. So the Persatuan Penduduk lead is actually he was in his own words, he was a pusher. So how he got involved with the formal side of the community management is because the older generation of the community reps were intruding the pushers' businesses. Like literally they're treating like, oh, okay, you guys cannot do your business here. You guys on your party. They are calling on cops, like raid the places. So in terms of the harmony situation, because okay, of course it's not safe, right? If your kids is going to tuition or like going back to school, and then there's like someone doing drugs at the staircase, it's not safe. But it just works sometimes for these places. But I think this young leader who kind of like be impacted by the intervention by the elder generation, he stepped out. He said, "Don't disturb our business. We are not disturbing yours." So, but I think there's also like some civic motivation for him. He said maybe there's actually a way to like mediate this, but without being condescending, without being attacking the underworld, because it is they're just there. They there because it helps the place exist, right? So he himself got into management. He worked with his friends. Okay, they say, I think it's our time to step in. You will be my mobilizer, community mobilizer. I will be the one doing the proposal and all. So let's go in. So they fought for the Persatuan Penduduk leadership, and they won the election. And this leader right now and his friends are actually helping with a lot of community programs. He is very aware of his social of his housing scheme, like these units needs zakat help, these units need ambulance to because the auntie is very sick, cannot go out. And these kids, for example, there are problems with kids not going to school dropout is very, very high. So his friend, who is also coincidentally who is also concurrently a futsal coach, he made it mandatory for kids to join the futsal team to go to school.
Damn.
So the number one rule is you have to go to school. So that kind of like tackle the school dropout. So it is very it's very civic in that sense. It's very empowering the kids. And also maybe there are also opportunities for the blind to because in his scheme there's a lot of blind communities. So he actually led them to support, or actually he supported them to create proposal to secure a business space in his around the housing scheme to run F&B businesses. But one thing that he also does is he maintained the informal sector. He did not like get
shy away or move away.
He did not get rid of the underworld sector because he said if this is removed, then there will be a lot of complication. There will be a lot of like, because it's a substructure thing, right? So if you cut one of the foundation, maybe it's substructure components of the society building, it will collapse somewhere. The community will collapse somewhere. So but the way he frame it is, they cannot deal drugs, they cannot deal whatever shenanigans they want to do, they cannot deal in around corridors. They need to go somewhere, but not in corridors. If you want to like isap dadah ke apa, no, not in the corridors. Want jual, no, not in the corridors. Go outside. But if you want to do stuff, just do your stuff. Betul lah. He cannot say no, because it's structural. It's really hard for him to do this alone. It is structural, but he knows where his limit is. He knows that he is kind of respected by that side of the town, of his housing scheme. So it's like, okay, just don't do it on the corridor. So it kind of like work. Of course, there are like some accidents and all, but I think that kind of role, community leadership is very important. And we, ThinkCity, we have to acknowledge, or like not just ThinkCity, but anyone who do community development need to acknowledge this kind of leader, need to empower him, need to ensure that there's also a successor for him to move forward. So I think this one of, hopefully this is a good story lah to tell.
I think it's a good story lah. I think from your story, the takeaway that I can safely say, you may correct me on this, is that where there is a gaps in enforcement or the gaps of the civic side of the community, somehow, somewhere, that the community itself organically will try to fit into the gaps, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
I think one of the, if I'm not mistaken, Uncle Kentang also one of the good examples of people who sit in between the gaps of the government services and the community itself. What do you think?
Maybe I'm not familiar with Uncle Kentang's work, but I think I just pick it up on like people organically fit into the gaps. I think humans are super adaptive to their situation. I think we are capable of adapting to our environment since maybe the beginning of time. So obviously when this happens, like the informal sectors will step in. Maybe they will change their nature of operating into the formal side. Maybe they will enter the formal sphere. But I think it's just normal for humans to be adapting, and especially in these communities, they know there are gaps that they cannot do on their own because it's shaped by the policymakers, it's shaped by the market. So what they do is like, you know what, we just want to continue living. We just want our kids to be safe. We want our kids to go to school. We want them to have a better future. So we just do it ourselves. So I think that's a very. They are the real heroes. They are the real G's, like they're the real G's.
Yeah. I'm reminded by my I think in 2024, KSI have a sustainability summit in Jakarta. So I'm quite ashamed, but it is actually my first experience in Indonesia. So when I landed there, and then we tried to go, from Plaza Merdeka and tried to walk around the city, we ordered the Grab. Yeah. So at the time, we made a mistake of wanted to traverse the city in peak hours.
Okay.
Right. So when we tried to, the Grab driver wanted to move from one part of town to another, they will encounter a jam, and then suddenly there's a traffic how is it, the traffic officer, isn't it? The one who directed the traffic, but it is not the traffic officer.
Is a random guy.
A random guy, and then they pay money. So maybe that's one of the example of which they serve a purpose. It's not technically, I don't know. It's hard for me to put down whether this is good or bad, but it's one of the example of which the community will find a way to regulate themselves. It's like an organic.
I think maybe there's a maybe in a country like Malaysia, I believe our legal framework is quite strong. But I think the gaps happen maybe due to, maybe it's an accusation to the enforcers, law enforcement, but I think it's lack of enforcement. I think so. The communities, having not getting the access, or maybe not getting the solutions from the rightful enforcers, they became their own legal enforcement team, and they say, okay, this is the rule. You are in this housing scheme. If you want to park your double car, you want to double park, you have to put down your handbrake. If you are complaining about people double parking, then you go out. You are not entitled to live here if you're complaining about these kind of things. If you want to do drugs, then do it in the corridors. Go elsewhere, maybe in the perimeters, but not in the not in front of people's houses. If you want to join the futsal team, you cannot be dropping out of school. You need to go to school. So I think these rules are made by the community organizations to help plug in wherever the gap is. Like maybe the guy who was maintaining the traffic, same goes to this leader who was trying to maintain or maybe improve the situation by by collaborating among themselves through collective effort. Collective effort.
Society will always find a way.
Society will find a way. But it's not that I'm saying, maybe don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm saying, oh, it's okay. Just as it is, the community is resilient by themselves. But resilience the graph I think can fall down because there's fatigue in it, right? So policymakers need to ensure that this effort is not going to waste, especially it's very positive, helping with education opportunities, economy, very social, very welfare. So I think the policymakers need to respond to this. Yeah.
So that's how say the dichotomy of on paper versus reality lah.
Yeah.
So what's one on paper versus reality that you've learned the hard way?
One on paper reality. I think it's very recent for me, the realization, or maybe for my team as well, that because we are working in public housing, there's Strata Management Act. I think many of us who are living in apartments, maybe some viewers or our friends who own apartment units who has purchased, they are in JMB or MC, the management committee or joint management body, which is the management structure legalized, or like management structure kind of like mandated for apartment owners lah. So in public housing, because they are basically living in strata development, right? Once strata title is out, they need to implement the Strata Management Act because it's part of the legal process. So but with some of the committees, I think strata title has some issues for the public housing because, for example, they have been public housing that are maybe more than 50 years old and all. So their strata title is not issued like way back. So it's quite recent. So all this while, without the Strata Management Act come into enforcement, the property management is obviously done by the owners, local councils or the ministry or the state, depends on the developer or like the owner of the public housing scheme. So because of this, the committee has kind of like developed a dependency towards the government sector. And alongside dependency, there's also a very strong local committee groups that kind of like come out and be the active leaders, active property managers, pseudo property managers, liaison between the residents and also the property owners, the rightful, which is government. So these dynamics have happened throughout the maybe many years. So when Strata Management Act come into enforcement, a lot of these active leaders, they are actually renters. They have limited say in Strata Management Act because they are not share unit owners. They are not paying for share units, so they cannot vote for MC and JMB. So what will happen is, you are kind of like depowering the communities who have taken the initiative to step up, maybe like out of their self-interest and all, but they are stepping up. They were always empowered all this time, but suddenly when this new regulation has to come, because there's an enforcement for it, the communities lose their power. So I think there's like one thing that on paper and on the ground is kind of like clashing. Because of this as well, common areas in public housing schemes, which are usually previously maintained by the government agencies, are now maintained by the management bodies, joint management bodies or maybe management committee. So the strata management will manage the common area because it's part of their mandate. So space use maybe are now more transactional. It's subject to the approval of the MC. So let's say the MC is by owners who just purchase sub-sale, who have no strong interest about the community side of the housing scheme, will now kind of like don't care about whatever community or gotong royong activities that have been going on. Just pay for the space use. So I think it kind of like depowering the communities and also make things more transactional, more more accessible to those who actually have the means to translate their ownership from renting to purchasing. That's my quick the first thing that came into mind, right? Yeah.
So what are the if you were to suggest any changes to amend this and alleviate this, how would that? Because this seem like a very structural issue that it's hard to even conceive of a way to get out of this. What do you think?
I think I'm not against Strata Management Act. I think it's a good act to have. But with public housing, I think it's very different, especially the older, more established public housing. Maybe I cannot recommend now, but hopefully there's some way to work with between like Strata Management Act, and also the already empowered or maybe the established community organization or leaders. So hopefully there's a way, maybe for viewers, or maybe if this conversation goes out, I really hope there will be experts or maybe property managers, registered property managers, JPPH, Jabatan Penilaian, or pengusaha harta, professionals who are very experienced in this. Maybe there's an existing model that works somewhere in Malaysia or maybe global, but it's just that maybe through our organization, or maybe most of the communities don't know how to mitigate the solution, because it will only create a rift. It will only depower communities. It will make spaces less equitable for everyone, especially the less privileged side of the public housing.
You mentioned mitigation. So what are the actually, according to your best knowledge, what are the actually the reason why this kind of issue? Because it seemed to me this is pretty big issue in public housing. In you mentioned Strata Management Act, so on and so forth. Why do you think that this flown under a lot of people's radar for quite a long time? Are there not any incentive? I think this could be, even we try to go the Hobbesian routes of policy making. This might be a good area of which is easy to be politicized, but people have yet to tap into this.
Yes.
Why do you think so?
I think it's very. I think it's just sentiments on the ground, because if these people actually have power as the one who are always there, I mean, the communities on the ground, I think they will say, or they will do kind of like very, not radical, but very stark, something that's so stark, something that's so unconventional, because it suits their place. It suits their place-based nature. It's their community, it's their place, it's their houses. They know what they want. They know what they donate. They want something, a vision for their space. So it could be something that is contradicting to maybe other policies or maybe other political interests. So for the time being, I think, or maybe number one, the communities are not. This is my accusation. I might be wrong. The communities are not informed that actually this is there's a situation that you guys are not being able to participate because of the law itself is not allowing the communities to be continue to be empowered. So I think that's a maybe an awareness thing by both sides, or maybe the lack of awareness from the communities as well, due to maybe it's systemic, maybe it's structural, that they are not informed of this. But to be fair, property owners, DPK, I mean, I'm not dropping local councils here, but all the local councils or any government agencies, they will do a briefing on the strata management structure before they hand over to the bodies or committees. But I think the story, or the storytelling, or the whole situation is not being informed well. Like, okay, how now the committee organizations will work with the JMB or the MCs and local councils or maybe government agencies. Maybe they will hand over, because they they need to take care of their OPEX as well. So I think it's just swipe under, or maybe not made loud because of just political interest. I think
interest.
I think if I can just summarize it to one way, it's just political interest. Hopefully this makes sense.
Yeah. I think it makes sense for a lot of things. Political interest, okay lah. Bound to happen anyway.
Yes. An easy answer.
Yeah. I think let us shift. We shift gear instead of talking about politics and policy. I want to know more about how does place and governance interact. So my first question on this segment is how do place, which is a physical space of history, and community dynamic shape outcomes? You sort of teased just now about the pusher guy and how it shaped the community as a whole. What are the things that fully encapsulate this?
Yeah, I think of course the policymakers, they are trying their best to make things work for everyone. But if we go maybe slightly more micro, maybe context, slow to our context on the ground, our work with the communities. The governance is shaped by, obviously, when the regulations such as Strata Management Act then it's shaped by that as well. There's a dynamic between, MC is not doing the work, MC maybe is doing too much work, for example. And for places that do not fall under the Strata Management Act, for example, the local councils or government agencies will do their best to manage, to ensure rent collection is good, to ensure this, the society side of the public housing is, the social side is sustainable, the gotong activities and all, they're all doing their best. We have to acknowledge that as well. We cannot just attack them, we have to acknowledge. But the local context, such as the kind of communities, like how long has they been there? They're like, now they're like 3 generations, for example, maybe in one public housing. They've been there since like maybe the 70s or like late 60s. So now it's like 3 generation. So it kind of like shape the participation, or maybe the sense of belonging of the place. There's also like sentiments such as development plans, for example. So maybe some sites are gazetted or maybe mentioned in the local planning documents to be redeveloped, but it also kind of like has that leave that kind of like anxiety for residents, like, is it something happening to us? Is it something not happening? Because the talks of redevelopment have been going on since like maybe for some sites 30 years now, close to 30 years. Like, that's crazy. Like, your site will be redeveloped. But like 30 years is a long wait.
It's like putting people on a ransom.
Putting people on a ransom, like they don't know where are they. So maybe that also kind of like shape the governance or maybe the sense of belonging. Because maybe some of them, this will be transition. This is a transition thing. It says we are in transition towards something. But the transition maybe for some cases have been like 30 years and all. Maybe it's unfair to blame everything on the policymakers as well, because cities or like urban context is very complicated. But I think we, or like maybe everyone who is advocating for an equitable city, more equitable cities, we should not leave people hanging like that. We should be clear, there's development is happening. Yes, there will be a transition, and what is the timeline for this? So it is more translated on the ground. And also, other than that scare, maybe other thing that is affecting local governance or maybe local management is also maybe the history of the people itself. So like maybe the early residents are maybe from government servants who are offered a place, or maybe they are from, say, squatters, squatting villages, kampung setinggan. So I think that shapes the kind of like dynamics in between blocks. So not just skips, but also like blocks. Block ni, is from different kampung, for example. So there will be some animosity between them. So it's very interesting. It's very it's a curious thing for us to observe, to understand why this happened. Maybe this could also shape how maybe how the next social or like public housings should be developed, based on the understanding of the communities, not just sake of relocating people from squatters to like, yes, the government is doing a good job in terms of placing people in a shelter, in a house, in a good house. Even there's electricity, there's water, clean water and all, but I think the dynamics, the soft part of the space, the software bit is not understood enough to kind of like make the social fabric more manageable. I don't know. Hope this doesn't come up condescending, but more it's so equitable for everyone.
Equitable.
Yeah.
That's a very safe word, equitable.
Safe word, yeah.
We mentioned it, everything okay lah.
Equitable lah. Yeah.
So in a lot of your stories and the information that you shed light just now, it seems to me that a lot of the not really problems, but the issues arising in public housing in these communities is related to where the governance is lacking, right? So where does actually governance help most in this situation? And how if we completely complains about governance, where does governance actually help?
Wow, maybe I'm not the most well versed about all the legal framework that we have in Malaysia. I don't have everything in the back of my head, but I think it's just be transparent about everything. I think everyone, or policymakers, the developers, the ones who are actually maybe redeveloping and all, not we, I'm not a developer, but this sector of the city needs to be transparent about what is next, what is currently on the ground or on the plate for the committee to maybe be part of, to participate. I think the governance can be helpful, should be helpful, is if the participatory process is elevated to a more maybe stronger degree. So maybe it's not just about during the planning process, but also towards the implementation, towards the maybe formation of new policies and all. Of course, policies are made public, right? So people comment online, people can read bills, for example, but not everyone can understand what is being written in the law. And maybe it's not even for me, like I studied property law, but I'm struggling with the paragraphs and all. But that I have the opportunity, I have the privilege to study. But what happened to my friends, or maybe my neighbors who do not have access to like law training, right? Basic law training even. So how would they understand what is their right, what they can do for their community, what they should expect, or what are their rights from the policy that they should receive from the policymakers. So I think governance could help. I think if more transparency, more a clear structure is being publicized to the community. Yeah. Hopefully this makes sense. Yeah.
All right. I think we have reaching the end of the section. We try to cram as much information as we can.
Yes.
And as with Sidang, usually in a lot of our episodes, we try to try to insert a policy suggestion.
Oh, policy suggestion.
Yeah. So, what should, according to your best capacity, knowledge, and ability to do so, what are the one policy suggestion that you think is the most important to push forward to?
Maybe for me, the participatory process for me, because if you want to make cities more equitable, or like it's for everyone, then everyone needs to be able to participate. Not just like, I think, like I mentioned earlier, not just during the planning process, but throughout the entire process of shaping the cities, the implementation, the regulations, the planning, the tracking. So everyone needs to be empowered to be part of it. So I think that would be a more equitable approach to how cities are being run. Of course, this is very utopian, right? But if I may suggest a policy, which is, please make participatory more structured, more strong, and
enshrined in the law, is it?
Enshrined in the law, not just right now it is part of the law. Maybe notice, maybe if you're doing local plan, structure plan, local councils need to inform, state need to inform, please give comments and all, but that is the planning process. But how about the implementation? How about during the implementation of sidewalks,
the consulting processes?
Maybe getting the consultants, maybe the communities know, these consultants do not work. So the participatory process could actually inform the implementation, could actually shape, could actually maybe make implementation better, because the communities are taking care of their space as well. They will take ownership eventually, because they are so participated. They will take care of their space, right? So it's more, maybe OPEX wise it will be better for local consoles, but I think there's a proper study, a thorough study needs to be done to see how this can be a proper policy. Yeah, that would be my recommendation. Yeah, hopefully this makes sense.
All right. So I would say thank you, Mr. Arif, for your information and for your willingness to participate in the. I think it should be an honor, the first guest to KSI's podcast. Second season. Second season.
Thank you.
So we'll tune in later, and I hope that we can bring in more exciting guesses. Maybe you can make a second appearance.
Maybe I need to get more experience first.
All right. So I'll see you next time. Ciao.